Alright guys, here's a bit of Kruger style theory for you today. So I'm starting in opening tree, and I've got this set to my record since the beginning of March this year with the white pieces. So obviously I'm an E4 player, and here I'm looking at the standard responses. So against D5 I do okay, but slightly mixed bag. I'm not doing any better than normal on here. Against C5, the Sicilian, again I'm doing okay, learning the Smith-Morra. Against C6, the Caro-Kann, I've got a really good hit rate with the von Hennig, and likewise with the French, I'm scoring way above average. Okay. D5 also, which is the Scandinavian, I'm doing fine with the Black Mardima. But D6 stands out a bit like a sore thumb. So I've faced 547 E5s, I've faced 50 D6s. So this is the Pirc or the Pirc defense, and I've only got a 20 win rate against 29 losses. So to me, that stands out as something that requires some investigation. So let's play the move D6. I've always played D4, and again it's 2029. Obviously, if your opponent allows you to grab the center, it is the principled thing to do so. And now after knight f6, what do? Well, here I've been playing bishop d3. Now this is actually not the best scoring approach for white, but I've kind of standardized on this idea with bishop d6 and then maybe c3 as a kind of normal setup against these hypermodern approaches. But is there something better? So a few people have suggested, including Jules here, has suggested looking into the Austrian attack. Why? Because it involves an f-pawn move. So I've done a little bit of research and preparation. So let me take you through a couple of lines that you can play against the Pirc, whatever, pays you money, takes your choice. So we've got a couple here, a couple of lines in the Austrian attack with f4, and also we're going to look at the Byrne variation. All right. So I haven't got I'm looking at this in logged out view, which is what you will see if you come across to this study, and it will guide you through. But I think for my purposes, this is more or less enough. So let's go through. I'm going to start with the Austrian. All right. So we start as an E4 player. They play this. We grab the center. Most common move, of course, is knight f6. They're going to go for this kingside fianchetto setup. And obviously the knight here is looking at our e-pawn, so we're going to develop our knight to c3 and defend that pawn. Now they're carrying on with their fianchetto idea. And here the octopus says, do not play the sloppy bishop d3, which is about white's worst continuation. And with the Austrian attack, we just continue with the aggressive pawn to f4. Okay, they'll normally just plow ahead with their idea and fianchetto their bishop. Now the top players here play knight f3 first, but all the way up to 2500 on Lichess. White does better with the immediate pawn to e5. This is the point of playing f4. All right, now they will usually take. These are all the most common lines from black's perspective, and this is set to 1800 and 2000 on Lichess. Okay, so we're not going to recapture here with the f-pawn. We're actually going to recapture with the d-pawn and start to clamp down on these dark squares. Right, when they take here, we're going to recapture with the king, not the knight. The capturing of the knight would be undeveloping. Most common move. Again, they're going to come in and try for this cheapo fork with knight f2 on king and rook, and we're not going to allow that. Now here, king e2 is absolutely fine. You can also play king e1, so as not to block in this bishop. And they are now trying to prevent our knight from coming in with the same fork idea, right? So we've lost castling rights, and black has not lost castling rights. But what we're going to do, we're just going to carry on. We're going to kick this knight back. Obviously, it can't go here or here or here because bishop takes, or here. So this knight is now not in a fantastic position. We can just develop our knight. And white here wins overwhelmingly, right, with a 63% win rate. Okay, so they try and improve their knight. Decent looking, natural looking move. We can develop our bishop and actually allow them to castle. They'll push this pawn. This is already a mistake though, because they want to castle and they're uncomfortable about our bishop looking down at g8. Okay, but again, g4. Now we chase the knight all the way back and we've got this massive space advantage. So here we can just start to creep our knights in. We're threatening a check on here, so black will castle out of the way. You can play your king now to f2. Our king is pretty safe there. And now we can push the g pawn, we can push Harry the h pawn. We're just going to line up a massive attack here, and white is here +3. So that is the Austrian attack with the exchange variation. We'll just go over it again quickly. All right, so here we defend the pawn. They do that, and then we go in straight with this. All right, and then we attack the knight straight away. The exchange variation is the most common, and there we go with this. We recapture with the king, and now we can put our king on e2 or e1. All right, so we kick the knight away. He retreats, we can develop. And the knight comes back in. We can develop our bishop. We're going to threaten to come in. No, that's not the move. Okay, chase the knight with g4. And now prepare the knight check. They castle out of the way. We got our king safe. And we're doing absolutely fine from here. Okay, so there's one other variation that I want to look at. And this really is, you know, when you've got Pirc players, they're looking for a solid game, right? And we're just not going to give them that. So here there is another line when they're going to retreat their knight back to d7. Okay, so we're going Austrian style, f4, right? We immediately attack the knight. Now, when the knight retreats, and this is played more than 1 in 4 games, and this looks really solid, okay? But we're not going to allow black a moment's respite. We charge into e6 with our pawn, and they capture. We can just develop here, and we're going to try and attack this apparently weak construction. Now, it looks like black's got some compensation for his slightly damaged pawn structure. He's got 3 pawns in the center. He's got a semi-open f-file for his rook, okay? But forget about it. We're going to go in, okay? Harry goes in. Gary goes in. So we've given up, Gary's given up his life for the cause here, okay? But we've started to open up the g-file. And also, if you look previously, the knight was guarding this at h5 square. So what we've done with throwing Gary in, we've opened up that square. And this is just balls out, right? And it says, note that after e5, which is very likely, black has actually won 7 out of 8 games from this point. But, and that's at 1800 to 2000, but we don't need to do that. Okay, right, open up the king. Is it the check here? No, it's not. Open up the king. What do I mean by that? Yeah, we just capture. We capture on here. And now we come in with a check. We're developing our bishop. White is now better, but needs to be clinical. And this pawn is not as safe as it looks because we actually have the knight coming in now. Okay. That also comes with the discovery on this knight. And we're not really concerned about this bishop. There's a few pawns in the way, so we're going to grab this knight. They're going to recapture. And now queen to h3. And white is +9 in all lines from here. We're simply threatening to come in with checkmate. The king's got nowhere to go. And it's going to be really, really tough. Okay, so that is the knight retreat variation in the Austrian attack. And there's one more line that I wanted to look at. And feel free to go over these at your convenience. Feel free to make a copy of the study, knock yourself out. Okay, let's look at the Byrne variation now. This is another aggressive way to counter the Pirc. Okay, we bring our knight out, defending the pawn. And now the signature move of the Byrne variation is bishop to g5. Okay, black carries on with his plan, and we're immediately going to strike at his position again with pawn to e5. Okay, and after this, black only wins 26% from here. However, look, here's the difference between this and the Austrian, is that because our bishop is out now, we can now recapture with the rook. We now own this d-file. Very common move here from black. There is actually targeting this pawn here, and we're not going to flinch. We're actually going to encourage the knight to grab that pawn. Okay, and now we want to target this, but you've got to be careful. So there's two routes here for the knight to target c7. One of them is good and one of them is bad. And the reason is, if we play our knight here, then that actually allows black to play knight a6 and defend this. However, if you put our knight here, he can't play that because we can eliminate the knight, also mess up his pawns and isolate this pawn with bishop takes. Okay, and we could just go straight in. White is +4 here and actually wins 79% of the time. We can just grab the rook and we are absolutely fine. So I like this kind of approach. This is really taking your Pirc player out of what he wants, and it's very much in Freddie's style, particularly if you go for the Austrian with f4, which is probably the way that I'm going to go. But yeah, I'm going to keep drilling this a little bit. And if you, like me, have been struggling against the Pirc defense, then give it a go yourself. The Austrian attack is not unsound, and it performs very well throughout the rating range. So there you go. Hope that's useful. Thank you for watching. See you soon.